Hey, hey, hey. It is Wednesday night. Man, week's going by fast. It's a good week, though. Hopefully, you guys are also having a good week out there, crushing it, taking things on, head on, and knocking them out. Um, yeah, just another really good day. I don't know if you guys are getting the same vibes as me, but feels like we got a lot of momentum in the market here. Obviously, Bitcoin at a new all-time high today. Texas passed their bid to add that to the balance sheet, which is pretty cool. Well, it's going to work out for them in the long term, but you know, it's interesting that we're seeing more and more sovereign wealth funds, pension funds, um, enterprises, institutions, governments add Bitcoin to their balance sheet at this point. I don't know that that trend continues in perpetuity, but I think you might see a diversification into some other digital assets as part of people's treasuries for sure. I tell you, Bitcoin is not on our balance sheet. There's a different asset on Digital Ascension Group's balance sheet, but that's not here nor there. So, what do you guys want to run into tonight? We do the AMA every Monday. You guys are awesome enough to ask really good questions here in the chat, and we always run it down here on YouTube and X and over here on TikTok. I'm going to try to figure this deal out. I got to get with my boy Mickle. If you guys know him, you may be part of the Mickle Mafia. If you're not, go check him out. He's got his YouTube channel. He's one of our advisors at Digital Wealth Partners, the OG advisor at Digital Wealth Partners. Anyway, he uses Streamlabs like I do, but he uses the desktop version. He's able to get over there on Facebook, and it works better on X, and it also works better on Instagram. So I'm going to try to get that sorted out, hopefully by next week. We won't have the lives next week, so you guys aren't going to see me until XRP's birthday here at the 1st of June. XRP's birthday is going to be June 2nd. We're also going to have a webinar that day. If you have not registered for that, if you got 50,000 XRP, it's going to be everything you need to know if you hold 50,000 XRP or more, ways to mitigate taxes, set up your estate plan, things that you should be thinking through to be able to be proactive and not reactive on the other side of price appreciation. Of course, by the second, might be in a little bit different spot. We'll just have to see how things go here. We've got potentially the approval of the ETF for Grayscale tomorrow, the spot ETF. I haven't seen any a denial by the SEC, and they have until, I believe, 6 p.m. tomorrow evening to, decide one way or the other on that one. We have seen some other ones get kicked further to June. I know a lot of people are a little bit disheartened about the case, and the judge is, posturing on the last filings. We talked about that a little bit Monday, that the SEC's last brief that they're going to be filing in the case is going to be number 985. Just pretty interesting. And then also here in the near future, we're going to have another release of Ripple escrow. We currently have about 58.6 billion XRP available on the market. And with what Ripple normally releases onto the market, we could have that 58.9 billion. I don't know if 589 has something to do with everything kicking off, but it feels close. We got XRP Vegas next week. If you guys are going to be out there and you're part of the mastermind, we would love to have you at our event. I'm not going to publicly state where that's going to be. It is on Wednesday night. So if you're going to be in town a little bit early and you are part of the mastermind, you'll know where it's at. Again, if you want to check that out, it's over here. It's beyondbroke.com. And you can use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you a free month there in the group. And then you can figure out where the meeting is. It is a Bitcoin conference in Vegas next week. It's both. So Bitcoin 2025 is Monday through Wednesday, and then we got XRP Vegas on Friday, Saturday. So if you want to come out and support, you might like both. It's going to be a big week for crypto there in Vegas. So we're going to be there the whole week. I got a special trip on Monday up to New York, and then we'll be out to Vegas Tuesday through Sunday next week. So again, unfortunately, I will not be. Well, we might be able to get a Monday live in. I'll be back. Maybe. We'll try to do Monday live next week, but Wednesday we'll be out and about over there in Vegas. So yeah, let's plan on that. We'll be back next Monday for you guys. We'll get her done. So we only miss one, which is the Wednesday. Trying to think here what else we've got on the agenda for things. I did want to mention this about the Mastermind. As we do see price appreciation here, we are going to lock it down. Over a $10 XRP, we are locking the doors on the Mastermind for 30 days. We're going to raise the prices 10x. And anybody else that's coming in after that will be heavily scrutinized. So background checks, a bunch of other things done. We're very protective of the community, and we want to make sure that the people that have been here from the beginning are well taken care of. Loyalty is a big deal for me. And so the people that are in now before price appreciation will be well taken care of in perpetuity. And we will make sure that anybody else that's coming in is well vetted and worthy of participating in the community. So again, you just go to beyondbroke.com, put in the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you a free month there in the group, and you can sneak in. I don't know how much longer you got until prices are going to move here with the spot ETFs potentially coming. We've got futures live. We got the stablecoin bill on the floor. It's a lot of things queued up for the domino theory to roll on through here. So with that, we'll go ahead and hop into the questions and run it down for you guys tonight. We'll hang out till about 10:30 Central Standard Time and try to get through all the wonderful questions you guys ask. Atlantic Living, we'll start with you. They say you are just the man to ask. Today, a whale bought almost 250 million XRP worth about $500 million, and the price didn't flinch. No wick, no pump, or excitement. Why did nothing happen? If it was an OTC trade or a dark pool trade, that's the whole point of that. People are acquiring on that market without affecting price. It's only when you're going to purchase through the exchanges that you're going to see that amount of volume reflected over there. And the only time that that's going to happen for that large of a trade is when there's no longer supply outside of the exchanges. And again, I think that there's going to be a supply shock in the near future where that ends up being the case, where the dark pools go dry, Ripple's not selling to anybody, OTC trades are, people are holding. They're not wanting to get rid of that XRP. And the only places that are going to be left that are liquid with XRP is going to be exchanges. And that's when you're going to see some crazy volume come in and drive the prices a lot higher. So yeah, dark pool or OTC trade. If somebody bought that much and the price didn't move. Lil PP, what's up, man? He says, hey Jake, I've seen so much JPY related stuff lately. It must be getting serious. Please elaborate some more. How long do you think until chaos? We're here. They have stopped yield curve control there in Japan, which they were doing for a little while. They've stopped trying to suppress it. We are in the danger zone. I posted that the other day over there on X. When the 10-year treasury there in Japan is above 1.5 to 1.6, we are flashing red. This is not good. We finally made it back there after a pause for a little bit. And like I said, the Bank of Japan is not quelling these interest rates now. So the Bank of Japan is going to have to raise interest rates in the near future. And as soon as they do, all hell is going to break loose across markets. You're going to see a liquidation event and credit event like you've never seen. Surprised stocks are moving higher in the environment that we're in. The only way that's happening is if these institutions are buying right now, pushing prices up to support things. When in the background, a ton of people are selling off positions to be able to make sure that they're not going to lose their shirts when the reverse carry trade unwinds, which is going to happen. because they needed to. The stablecoin bill is on the floor. They'll be able to ram that through. Everything's in place now. We got the green light on Monday for everything that we've been waiting for. So just twiddling my thumbs, sitting back, smiling, ready to go. Everything that I've been talking about for the last 15 months is about to kick off here. Now that Japan has stopped yield curve control, they're out of tricks to kick the can. And we're about to get this show started. We got JJ Mendoza. He says, "Hey, Jake, you're definitely the GOAT." I appreciate the kind words. I do my best. I keep hearing about this XRP multiplier. How true is that? And do you have an example? So here's the piece on that. People look at total supply of XRP when in reality, the supply demand dynamic is going to be on the available supply of XRP. So that's the multiplier that you're getting. There might be 2 billion XRP left on exchanges, probably less than that. If you included retail and what they're going to exit or sell, if we saw a $10, $20, $50, $100 XRP, you'd see some retail liquidate positions for sure. Maybe you get another billion float on to the exchanges if we see those types of numbers, in addition to what's available on the exchanges. Retail doesn't hold more than, maybe 1.2 to 2 billion total XRP, in my personal opinion. Digital Wealth Partners currently has about, 200 million of that under management. So effectively, by my calculations, about an eighth of retail's XRP currently sits with Digital Wealth Partners. And we're starting to get some attention from some institutions and have some conversations, which is why I was excited Monday. So beyond that's the reason that there's a multiplier effect. So if you only had, let's say it's 2 billion out of 100 billion, you'd be that 50x that like Zach Rector talks about. It's total supply versus available supply. And that's why you get that shift in how much liquidity moving in is going to cause, the market cap to rise in a multiplier effect versus if it was distributed across the total supply available, or the total supply versus just the supply available. We got WJ Luckett. What's up, man? He says, "Hey, Jake, purchased my LLC. Awesome, man. Glad to have you and be working with you. Buying XRP daily. That's what I'm talking about. And looking forward to onboarding. If I put XRP into both the income and growth fund, would I be able to make XRP earn in the growth fund and add it to the income fund?" Yeah, you absolutely could. You'd be able to compound that XRP. I think we're going to do annual distributions out of the growth fund. So it's going to, the whole point of the growth fund is to compound the XRP. And you'll have a distribution at the end of the year where you get the compounded XRP that's out of the fund. But if you, wanted to then take that and put it as part of your income fund to continue to grow your income, I think that's a great catalyst to continue to compound and grow your income. So great way to think about it. And we appreciate you being a client. We really look forward to working with you. So if you don't know what he's talking about, we got almost 1,200 people here on YouTube. We got a bunch of people on X. We have almost 300 people over here on TikTok. We provide financial management at Digital Wealth Partners for people that hold more than 100,000 XRP. And if you're accredited, have to be accredited. If you want to be able to earn returns on that XRP, we have a couple different ways you can do that. We have two strategies inside of our hedge fund. This is a completely legal, above board, structured financial product that exists in institutional custody under the purview of the SEC and FINRA that we've put together that is not DeFi and there's no counterparty risk. Your assets stay there in institutional custody. This person's asked what is accredited. Accredited in the US, there's three ways you can be accredited, but I'll just speak to the income and the net worth. Your income, if you're single, has to be over $200,000 for 2 years in a row. If you're married, $300,000 for 2 years in a row. You need that on your tax returns. And then once you have that, you would be considered accredited. Or your net worth needs to be more than $1 million outside or not including the equity in your primary residence. So you can't include your home or the equity there. If you've got an additional $1 million worth of net worth outside of that, then you would meet the accredited requirements here in the US. I don't make these rules. I think they're stupid. But unfortunately, we do have to abide by them. We are an SEC regulated RIA. If you want to go look it up, you can look it up on the FINRA check and look up the CRD number for Digital Wealth Partners. You can see all of the certifications for our advisors there. Their 65s or their 7 and 66 and who they're registered with. So, but they're able to provide real financial advice for you on which digital assets you should buy and how much of it, hold it in institutional custody, everything that you would want from like a Schwab or Fidelity account for your crypto. And it's an FBO account. So you still own the assets. We work with you as a signer on the accounts, but these are FBO accounts that sit inside Anchorage's institutional grade custody, insured up to $100 million. And you can add your spouse, your beneficiaries, your POA, your trust, whatever it is that you want to do. So we do require that the assets are held in an entity. Again, so this gentleman, Mr. Luckett, went ahead and set up his LLC, which is awesome. That's the easiest, lowest friction way to be able to get yourself going and protect yourself, to be able to mitigate taxes and structure your estate to begin working with us there at Digital Wealth Partners. So if that's interesting to you, you just go over to digitalwealthpartners.net and go to the contact us form. So again, need 100,000 XRP and need your assets in an LLC, and you're good to go. We got 7-0. They say, when the reverse carry trade finally unwinds and Bitcoin, along with other cryptos, drop in price, do you see that being one of the last big XRP buying opportunities before price appreciation? Nope. Sure don't. And I'll tell you why. Tether is likely going to get sanctioned. So you won't be able to issue any big buys. All of these exchanges will go illiquid. And it's likely that they will push the price up of XRP to provide liquidity in that time of need. And oh, my wonderful wife. Thank you, babe.
Sorry.
That's all right. Thank you. So though I think XRP is going to be going vertical while everything else is going down. I think everything else is going to be burning to the ground while XRP is soaring to the sky. They'll launch the ETFs. They'll push enough liquidity into it to be able to save the back end of the stock market and other financial markets to be able to settle it real time and de-risk and mitigate the unrealized losses for investment banks and other people. And also kickstart the economy by moving the velocity of money much faster with stable coins and everything else that they're going to roll out. And it'll be able to save the bond market because when they roll out the stablecoin regs, they'll have to buy up all the treasuries that flood onto the market from the reverse carry trade. So I just continue to dollar cost average. I know some people, here's something else we have in the Mastermind that's exclusive for the Mastermind and Digital Wealth Partners. If you want to be able to borrow against your XRP, even if you're not a Digital Wealth Partners client, we have an exclusive deal with a partner. I won't mention who, but they will provide liquidity against your XRP. And if you have a Wyoming LLC, like we help people set up, there's no minimums. You can put up any amount of XRP and be able to borrow against it using their platform. They have another $3.2 million. I'll take that back. Not quite. Another $3 million they're willing to lend against that XRP. So if you want to borrow against your XRP, and not telling you to buy more or leverage it or do any of that, that's not financial advice. I'm just saying we have capability through some partnerships that we have. You need to be Carbon 1 in the Mastermind in order to be able to do that. And again, you can just join the Mastermind, go to beyondbroke.com and use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO, get you a free month there in the group. And then you'd be able to take advantage of that partnership to be able to borrow against your XRP if you wanted to do so. And again, you're going to need a Wyoming LLC to be able to do that. And that's something we provide. If you want to, go look at that and set up an LLC, all you got to do is go to digitalwealthpartners.net. Digitalfamilyoffice.io is where you're going to go for the LLC. Go to the services page, and it's normally $4,000 is what we charge on the LLCs. But for you guys tonight, if you want to go in there and put in the code 50OFF, 50OFF, DAG, like Digital Ascension Group, LLCs, that's 50OFF, DAG, LLC, get you everything all in on your LLC for $2,000. So that's EIN, Articles of Organization, Certificate of Good Standing, the template for the operating agreement, which is normally like $1,800 to $2,500 if you go to an attorney in Wyoming. We do the registered agent. We do a virtual office for you so that your mail can be forwarded. We file it with anonymity. We make sure it's a single member LLC so that you don't have any tax implications when you fund it. We show you the step-by-step process on how to move your assets in there with no tax implications. And we give you a video to be able to set up a bank account underneath the LLC with Mercury, a full walkthrough. So we give you everything all in, anything you would need. And if you need a call, we would do that as well to be able to walk you through that process with our team, all for $2,000. So again, digitalfamilyoffice.io, and then the services page, LLC, and the code is 50OFF, 50OFF, DAG, LLC. This one says, I've set up an LLC in the state of Nevada myself. Would the steps for Wyoming be similar? Your name's going to be listed on it. If you want the anonymity, your attorney needs to set it up. Like, that's the whole point. And Nevada's the same way. Nevada has attorney-client privilege. But if you set it up yourself, you're basically just kind of mitigating the whole point of setting up an LLC in that jurisdiction. That's digitalfamilyoffice.io. This person's asked for the website over here. So, yeah, would love to work with you guys in that capacity. And again, if you want to set that up and then be able to borrow against your XRP, you can go join the Mastermind with free code and you're off to the races. So we got Richard. Richard, what's up, man? He says, hey, Jake, so appreciate you and the work you do. My plan is to hold all my XRP indefinitely. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Custody with EWP, invest and borrow as needed. Can you borrow funds be received as crypto versus fiat? Yeah, we can do USDC or stable coins, however you want to borrow against it. It has to be dollar denominated. We don't have any partners that'll borrow against it in XRP. But we can ask if you want to borrow just directly in XRP. I'm sure they'd probably figure it out for you. But right now it's just, borrow USDC or UST against the XRP. And if you wanted to, do it in fiat, you just swap that for dollars in your account and wire it to your bank account. No big deal. Appreciate you on the super chat, man. Hope you guys are having a good night. We got Rock Corp. They say, Mr. Claver, heard you talking about a pullback for XRP. I don't think so. Prices as low as $1.84. Another good buying opportunity for sure. Not another pullback. Okay. I want you to go Google, or maybe I can pull it up here for you guys. I don't know if I can share this or not. We'll see. Let's pull it up here. We're going to go XRP versus Bitcoin. All right. Let me get my charting lines off here for you guys. I'm just going to show you this chart. I don't know if you guys ever look at that chart. I mean, a lot of people look at the XRP chart by itself against the dollar. I always like to do it against Bitcoin, just because Bitcoin is the major cryptocurrency in the market. But I'm going to show you guys. Let me see if I can share screen here. Share screen, understand, Bitcoin. All right. Show on screen. Here we go. All right. I don't know if you guys, hopefully you can see that. You can't see it over here on TikTok, but everybody here on YouTube can. So you can see here, XRP has been way up here in the past in comparison to Bitcoin, about 10x from where it is today. And it's sitting right on top of this long extended wedge on this shelf down here. You can see it's hit this level a couple different times. It's a long wedge that's being pulled in here. And at some point, it's going to break out significantly to the upside. So if Bitcoin keeps rocketing higher and then XRP is appreciating against it, a 10x from the current price would get you somewhere around a $20 XRP. I think a lot of people would be really happy with that. So anyway, that's the stuff that I'm looking at. I like to look at Bitcoin versus XRP. I think we're at the reason I bring that up is, you mentioned a further pullback. Unless we see a big pullback in Bitcoin, I don't think we're going to get a big pullback in XRP. Could that happen during Tether unwinding or being sanctioned? For sure. But I think it's probably going to go the other direction. I think that's when you're going to see the breakout for XRP. As soon as this stablecoin bill gets passed, off to the races. And maybe even before that because of Japan. We got Rob. What's up, man? He said, would I be able to get an event scheduled for Las Vegas meet up by emailing Tori? Probably not. I will be in and around other events there at Vegas, but I will not be taking exclusive meetings. I am back to back pretty much the whole time I'm there with podcasts and other events that I'm attending for all the way from the time that I fly in on Tuesday until the time that I fly out Sunday evening. So I'll do my best. If I see you around, happy to say hi and take a quick conversation. Best way to pin me down is probably going to be at our event there in the Mastermind. We will have 3 hours there where we've rented out a very large space that overlooks the strip. That's going to be pretty cool to share with people there in the group. I got my Beyond Broke Mastermind t-shirt on tonight for you guys that we gave away at our last event. So anyway, unfortunately, Rob, I will not be taking any additional meetings while I'm there in Vegas. But if you do want to try to pin me down at our event, happy to answer any questions and shake hands and kiss babies there. Trying to make the most of my time when I travel places. Not to say that my time's not worth your time or anything like that. I've just got a lot of things that we've been working on for the whole last year, really, that'll all kind of culminate here in the next week with some of the stuff that we're doing. So super excited about that. We got Adairberry. They say, hey, Jake, no question tonight. Just wanted to say how much I appreciate you do for all the work and information. Thanks a gazillion. You the man. Appreciate you. Thank you for the kind words. I really do enjoy this. I like being on here and answering questions for you guys because I get a lot of fulfillment from it, just candidly. This is probably one of my favorite things to do. I'm tired most of the time when I get on here because it has been a long day. But I do look forward to this every single evening on Monday and Wednesday. And I really do enjoy spending it with you guys because you do ask fantastic questions. And I don't know, I enjoy giving back and talking to y'all. We got Bifrod. They say, what other cryptos do you accept in DWP and DAG? What day? What and where is the meetup in Vegas? So it's on the 28th. It's on the night of the 28th. If you're in the Mastermind, you can go to the events tab in the Discord and figure out where the event is. You can go to the Luma and register. Please go to the Luma and register. We need a head count for the space that we're in. We can only have like a quarter, 250 people. So I think we're at like almost 200 people registered at this point. So maybe we can have about another 50 people. Otherwise, it's going to be assholes and elbows in there. And excuse my French, but not that that's a bad thing, but we do want breathing room, and it is a very nice space. So we'll probably limit it when we get to the 250. But again, if you want access to that event, you're going to be in Vegas on Wednesday night, or you want to come in a little early to hang out with us. We'd love to have you. Just go to beyondbroke.com and put in the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you a free month there in the group, and you can absolutely come to that event in any tier, $25, $100, whatever it is. Social membership gets you access to the in real life events. We do more in real life events than any other community in the XRP community for sure. I don't know if we do as many as Bored Ape Yacht Club. They do a pretty good job. I think they've kind of cut back since the bull market on the NFTs and Bitcoin and everything else has kind of reeled in a little bit. But I think, I'm really proud of what we're able to do for the community. We try to give back a lot. We'll do 2 free drinks for everybody there at the event. Anything beyond that, you got to cover. But we will take care of you on the first 2 drinks. It should be a really good time there in Vegas. Excited for that one. The other assets we accept at DAG and DWP. So we work with anybody that has any assets, to be honest with you. But for institutional custody, we currently have the availability to hold Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Matic, Chainlink, Avalanche, XRP, XLM, USDC, and pretty much any other EVM compatible token. There at Anchorage, we are going to add HBAR and XDC in the next 30 to 60 days with a partnership through Archax is the goal. It's what we're targeting, so don't hold me to it, but we're going to do our best to get that done. And we will be, hopefully partnering with somebody else that can provide liquidity and generate returns on all of those assets in the near future while they sit there in your account, maybe even a risk-free return. We'll see. So yeah, would love to work with you. And again, if you have a distributed or diversified portfolio, you're going to need at least $500,000 worth of digital assets to work with us. But if you have at least 100,000 XRP, then we will take you as you are, as long as it's inside of a corporation. Let's see here. We got Wandering Scholar. They say, Jake, any crazy stories you could share about the early days in crypto? Keep at it, boss. Oh, crazy stories. I didn't get into crypto until 20 and 21. Really mid 2020 was when I started to get in pretty heavy. There was a couple times when I woke up to crazy prices and just go to dinner and then come back and your positions doubled. Summer of 20 and spring of 21 were wild. I remember the day that Doge ran to like $76 and XRP was pumping along with it, got up to like $1.96, doubled in 24 hours. XLM, same story. HBAR had a big run. XDC had a big run. Hard to contain emotions when you're in that position. And I'm sure you guys will get to feel that here in the near future. We're going to get an alt season. There's going to be utility for some of these assets, and you're going to see things skyrocket, and your heart's going to be beating fast. You're going to be excited. I would just encourage you to breathe. And, try to stay calm. That's another benefit of the mastermind. I keep harping on it, but being part of a community that are experiencing other things and being able to get in a voice chat or a call and kind of like calm yourself and calm your nerves and stay grounded while everything's going on, I think is going to be paramount when all this shakes out here in the near future. And I think a lot of people are going to be celebrating. Hopefully, I don't know if it'll be next week at XRP Vegas, but with everything that's playing out with the stablecoin regs and Japan, I'm feeling pretty confident that we're not very far from everything. I'll tell you one. So I got in on Loop Ring. This was a speculative deal, and I was watching it, and it would like skyrocket and then pull back and skyrocket and pull back. And it had done it a couple times, and it was in a big long wedge. And I got in. I think I put in like $60,000 on this position. I was like, this is going to move hopefully within the next week here. And I had a price target for like an 80% return on it, because that's normally where it was pumping when it would go. And I put in a limit order there. And when I put it in, I went to sleep and I woke up the next morning and sure as shit, excuse my French, takes off, right? And in that morning, I was waiting for it to get to my limit order. And this is why I always do like 15% less than what I think now, anytime I'm ever going to do a trade, because it got right up to it and then never executed. And then it went all the way back down. And I didn't lose money because I got back out, but I could have made like $45,000 in less than 24 hours on that one, which would have been pretty good at the time. I think for anybody, you'd be happy with that. And so anyway, just frustrating. So, if you are going to trade this market, if you do have price targets, I would encourage you to probably toggle those, maybe 5 or 10% even less than what you. So like if you think XRP is going to go to $10, do like 950. and maybe it goes a little bit higher than that, but there's going to be a ton of people with those sell orders at $10 even. Okay, so you got to think about that psychologically. There's certain levels that people are going to trade at, and if you can cut those a little bit short, your stuff's going to execute while they get left behind. So, not saying that we're going to get a pullback at $10 on XRP or anywhere else. I'm just telling you, like, I don't know what your strategies are. These are just lessons I've learned from making mistakes where I could have made some more money and missed out. Wayne, what's up, man? He says, do you think lawsuit against Michael Saylor is legit? It hasn't hurt Bitcoin, but it seems like it could end his business model of buying Bitcoin. See you in Vegas, XRP King. I don't know if you guys know who Michael Saylor is or not. He was the biggest loser of the .com crash, and he lost $6 billion in one day. If you look at MicroStrategy, you can see the last time that this happened. Like if you go way back in the chart for the .com boom, that's going to play out again. He's a front man. He does a really good job. He is very intelligent. He talks the talk, walks the walk, speaks well, is articulate. He has candor. He's convincing. But he is a patsy, in my personal opinion. And he's playing his role. And he's talking his book and doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. And he's getting paid well to do it. Is the lawsuit going to come through? Are there going to be damages? I don't know. Class actions happen all the time and nothing comes of them. So your guess is as good as mine on that. Obviously, like you mentioned, it's not hurting Bitcoin. But I think, if Tether does get sanctioned, there's a big possibility that they're going to get liquidated on the way that they've leveraged themselves. And Jack Mallers is doing the same thing now with a Bitcoin treasury. We'll see. Hopefully he, is hedging. He's buying options or something else to be able to mitigate downside risk. I don't think Saylor's doing that. So, we'll see what ends up shaking out. But I think that the past could repeat itself on that one. Do you think banks will custody XRP? Johnny Pena comedy. I can tell you no. They don't. Not for you. They don't have the capability. We've talked to them. I talked to Fidelity. I talked to Schwab. I talked to JP Morgan. I talked to Bank of America. I talked to all these people. They do not have FBO accounts. They don't have anything set up. They have no way to custody these assets for you. And that's why we're at the forefront of that at Digital Wealth Partners and provide institutional grade custody for our clients in FBO, segregated accounts, bankruptcy remote, insured, in real institutional custody, not like some of the other people that propagate. They have institutional custody out there, like you might know other people pushing. I'm not going to name any names. We have real institutional custody. It's insured up to $100 million. That's crime insurance by Lloyd's of London. If you want to see the paperwork, got it. I can show you. So anyway, no, I don't think banks will. I think they'll get around to it. Once there's demand from retail, maybe they will. But really, they don't care. They want to use it for themselves, and they will profit off of it. Like I mentioned before, there might be 2 billion XRP held by retail investors. Maybe 2% of the supply. I don't want to say they could care less, but they can kind of care less. Like, we're going to have to take care of ourselves. And that's why I've built what I've built. And our team is in place and we're ready to make sure that we're able to, help you guys. I did this selfishly for myself and for the community, for the XRP family. I wanted to make sure that you guys had a spot to be able to borrow against your XRP, earn a return on your XRP, mitigate risk and taxes for your XRP before, because the banks weren't going to do it. I've talked to all of them. They don't have it. They're not going to do it. If they get around to it, it'll be 6, 10, 12, 18 months from now when they have something for you. Or they'll make an acquisition of an exchange and roll them in, but that's still going to take at least 6 to 8 months for them to, tie that infrastructure in and do the reporting and, create all the partnerships and do everything that we've already put in place to be able to get all this stuff done. So it's taken me 2 years to build what we've built. And that's me working, 12, 16-hour days, sometimes longer than that, every single day for 2 years straight. to get this stuff to market. And our team's the same way. I got people sending emails right now at their time, 10:40. They're on the East Coast. So our team works extremely hard to make sure that our clients are taken care of. Just super blessed to have the fantastic team that I have. We wouldn't be in a position that we are without them. So shout out to you guys. Appreciate y'all. And yeah, just super blessed. Philip Dalton says, "Hey Jake, are there going to be any DeFi staking or lending recurring revenue for XRP?" You will see on the podcast that's going to come out tomorrow, the next day, with Hugo. So I actually just had Hugo on the podcast on the YouTube channel. If you guys want to watch, we put out some other fantastic podcasts. One with Charles Finfrock the other day. I'm going to have another fraud mitigation and loss prevention podcast in the near future. I was on another podcast today. I'll be on 4 or 5 podcasts next week. But Hugo Filion from Flare was on the podcast, and we will get you access to that. And he does talk about FXRP and being able to mint a stablecoin with your XRP and put it to work in his DeFi protocol with Flare, and how you'd be able to generate returns that way. They are onboarding with some custodians that we're familiar with, and we will look to. We want to be agnostic, right? Like, we want to be the conduit. Any way that you want to be able to earn yield on your XRP, we want to be able to provide and advise on that inside of institutional custody where it's safe and insured. We want you to get all of the benefits of TradFi and all the benefits of DeFi. So Bryson says, "Jake, have you ever personally spoken to Schwartz or Garlinghouse?" Yes, both of them multiple times. Saw Brad at Swell last year. As well as Coin Alts and Swell the year before, and a few other times outside of that. And then Schwartz, I've talked to him almost every year at Consensus, and a couple other times outside of that also. So yeah, I don't have their cell phone or anything. It's not like I can just ring them. And even if I did, I wouldn't. I have a lot of respect for those guys, and I know how busy I am. And if I have anybody else that I know is pushing as hard as I am, I only reach out to them when absolutely necessary, or I have something that's really beneficial or mutually beneficial. So yes, talk to them both, and pretty cool. That both brilliant. Rock Corp says, "Jake, off topic, save till end 6-2." We can go right into it, man. I'm dieting for Vegas right now. He says 6'2", 190 pounds, 12%, aiming for 7, almost 40, 4 years post chemo. Congratulations on beating cancer, brother. That's awesome. No XRP Vegas for me, but Men's Classic in Austin, maybe. Won't win. Hopefully do all right. Wish me luck. He'll do great, man. You can do Masters at 40. So I competed in bodybuilding for a decade. Competed on the national level 3 times. At my largest, I was 260 pounds at about 8% body fat, sitting at, I don't know, dieting down. I haven't lost any weight, but I'm about 10% body fat right now. Have abs without flexing. So just trying to look good for Vegas. Yeah, I mean, 6'2", 190. I wouldn't do Classic. You are going to get eaten alive in Classic. I'd probably do Men's Physique. Men's Physique, you're going to get a better shot at for Masters with the amount of size that you have. That'd be my suggestion if you wanted to place well. You don't get to pose much for Men's Physique, though, so that's the only downside. Honest Aim, what's going on, brother? He says, "Hey, Jake, unbelievable that your free wealth building 500K XRP webinar had 220 people wanting to hear your solutions and your and DWP's team's offer to holders, big and small, 2,000 members in the mastermind. He's going to Vegas, baby. Awesome. Look forward to seeing you there at the event, brother. Appreciate you and your family. Super excited for the future for everybody. Yeah, we had almost 200 views on just the private video now for the replay on the free webinar that we put out for people that were holding at least 500,000 XRP. We had about 220 people register and show up there on the webinar. I thought maybe we'd have like 30 to 50 people, and I was blown away. So super excited to be able to work with all these new people. Talked about private placement life insurance and international trusts and trigger trusts and foundations and other ways to be able to mitigate taxes and protect your estate and build your legacy there on that podcast, or not podcast, but the webinar. And that is shareable. If anybody does have more than 500,000 XRP and you would like to check that out, just email info@digitalfamilyoffice.io and they'll share that with you. And then we do have the free webinar for anybody that's got more than 50,000 XRP coming up on XRP's birthday, June 2nd. And we will likely do another special for the people that show up on that. So if you haven't registered yet, please go register there on the Luma. I don't know if it's here on YouTube, but we definitely have it over there on X or Twitter and on all of the other social media platforms as well. And yeah, just crazy to see the growth there in the Mastermind, man. Again, for those that may have not been listening earlier, we are going to lock the Mastermind down at $10 XRP. And there's going to be an extreme vetting process for anybody that comes in moving forward. I'm going to be very protective of the community because of the amount of high net worth individuals that we are going to have there in the group, and already do have some. So just want to make sure that they're protected. And on the other side of price appreciation, we're going to lock it down. So if you want to get in now, before that happens, you just go to beyondbroke.com and put in the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you a free month there in the group. And I think you might sneak in here before we see that $10 XRP. We got 5-star painters. What's up, man? They say story about Tesla. Oh, we're going to put the tinfoil hat on. John Trump and Barron on your last live was crazy. I told my wife, and before she fell asleep, she seemed really interested. Thanks, brother. Thanks, man. Yeah, I dabble in some other areas. I spend a lot of time, on digital assets, obviously, and the family office side of things. But I find stuff like that really interesting. So for those that may have not been here on Monday, we got a lot more people watching. John Trump was the uncle of Trump, our president. He was the one that actually went in and looked at Tesla's items when he passed away and wrote a report to the U.S. government that he did not find anything substantial. But Tesla had 18 trunks, and only 10 of those trunks made it back to Europe. So I don't know what happened to those other 8 trunks. But Tesla was said to have had a death ray and a time machine and a bunch of other stuff to do with space and time and frequencies. And it's interesting the way that things have played out here. And then if you go look up there's a book called The Adventures of Baron Trump that was written in the late 1800s, like 1893 or something. And the third book in the trilogy is called The Last President. So just really interesting stuff. Time travel, maybe. I don't know. Tinfoil hat. Let's see here. We've got Hunt. They say thoughts on government-backed stablecoins preventing a yield spiral. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what's going to happen. They've already stated that multiple times, that stablecoin regs would require people to hold large amounts of treasuries to be able to back those. They're not going to pay a yield on the stablecoins. You're still going to have to buy the treasuries to get the yield. So they're not going to pass that to people that are holding the stablecoins. You might have a savings account or a specific type of account where you hold stablecoins that'll generate a return, but you won't be able to just hold stablecoins and get a yield on it. So yeah, I mean, that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to pass, all of this foreign debt's going to flood onto the market when the reverse carry trade unwinds, and you would see a spiral and basically, the U.S. default if there's not some type of demand to be able to drive up the purchase of those treasuries and hold the yield curve down, because the government can't print more money and inflate ourselves away, especially if the dollar is no longer going to be the reserve currency, the main reserve currency. So their only recourse is to pass the stablecoin bill and drive demand through people issuing stablecoins, banks, institutions, enterprises, and others, here in the U.S. So yeah, you're spot on, Hunt. We got R2RKTO. They say, do you think XRP's price can dump one more time? Why does every look here? Look, I would love it to. I don't think it's going to happen. I know everybody wants to, when it was 50 cents, nobody wanted to buy it. They were like, it's garbage. No, everybody hates XRP, blah, blah, blah. And then when it gets to $2, everybody wants to go back to 50 cents. You had 3 years to buy it at 50 cents or 30 cents or 40 cents or whatever it was. It ain't coming back. I'm sorry to tell everybody. Like, she's up. She's got volume. It's going to be sustained here because of the ETFs, because of the TWAP and VWAP and them entering the market. They're not letting it come back down. We would have already seen it come back down if it was going to. There's a bunch of stuff that drove up and then is back down 90% since it went up. XRP hadn't done that. It's back on the line here where there's been support on the Bitcoin and XRP chart. I think it's up from here, especially if Bitcoin keeps going up from here. It's only up for here for XRP. And if we do see, these other catalysts, like I've been talking about with the reverse carry trade and stablecoin regs and, adoption for the back end settlement of the stock market and these ETFs, you're not going to care if you bought it at $2.30 or you bought it at $2.40 or you bought it at $2 when it's $100 or $200 or $500. Like, I know everybody wants the most they can get on stuff, but dollar cost averaging is going to be your best bet 99.9% of the time. When you have some extra liquidity, buy a little bit. Don't leverage yourself or over leverage yourself to the point where you can't make your bills or can't pay other stuff. But if you can invest some and you can dollar cost average into a market, that is the way to do it. Trying to time the market, you're not going to do it. Like it's like 1% of traders that ever time the market well. And those that dollar cost average in, you're going to win. Like you can't lose doing that. You're going to get highs and lows, but your average is going to be pretty fair. Bitcoin, new all-time high right now. Must be going past, let's see here. Where are we at on Bitcoin? 110,325. All the way up to 110,811. Yeah, 100 and yeah, still climbing. So I don't know how much higher Bitcoin's going to go. I think you're going to start to see a rotation into other stuff. As soon as the stablecoin bill passes, Bitcoin's going to collapse on itself, in my personal opinion. They're pushing liquidity into it right now so that people can exit. I'd love to see the chart right now for people selling Bitcoin. A lot of people think it's going to go to like $30 this cycle and then back to 10 as a new floor. I don't want to sell any XRP at 30, but I don't want to ride it back. Do you think they're right? No. I don't think anybody has any idea what they're talking about. I think everybody predicates everything on cycles and just thinks that that's going to persist into the future. And they have no idea about what utility actually looks like in this market. And how would they? It's never happened. But we've also never had the same dynamics that exist today. You got ETFs, you got a futures market on XRP, you got other amendments that allow it to be adopted by institutions at scale to be able to settle payments. You've got regulation coming in to be allowing it to be able to be used. None of these dynamics have ever existed in the past. And so for them to predict that it's just going to persist as it has, I think is asinine. Like, we'll see. I don't have a crystal ball. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have a very high level of conviction that XRP is going to 3 and 4 digits here in 2025 if we see the reverse carry trade unwind. Living Legacy has been nice enough to post this in here. I know we talked about it earlier, but I know some people have a hard time. I talk fast. So if you do want to go set up an LLC and make sure that you're protected before things kick off here in the very near future, and make sure you're able to mitigate taxes and get your stuff into institutional custody, work with us to be able to generate a return once your assets are over $1 million, because they'll move there quickly. 100,000 XRP becomes $1 million at $10 XRP. You just use the code 50OFF 50OFF DAGLLC, get you everything you need to structure your LLC in Wyoming, the anonymity and all the other benefits to work with us and borrow against your XRP inside of the Mastermind if you want to do that for $2,000, all in, end-to-end, everything that you need, walkthrough, meetings, templates, no tax implications. That dang newspaper boy says, when price appreciation happens, do you have the staff to handle the influx of new customers? Will Mastermind subs get priority over unsubscribed followers? Thanks for your dedication and your time. Mastermind will always take priority. That's the other piece. If you're in the Mastermind, I always take care of people that take care of me. And if you're loyal, that speaks a lot to me. There's been people that have been in the Mastermind they believed in me when there wasn't anything. I was just talking on Twitter and said, hey, I think I want to do this. Are there enough people out there that would want to participate? $25. If you vote with your dollars, we'll see how many people want to be a part of it. We had like the first cohort, it was like 100 people that threw in $25 a piece on a dream, on a hope that I would put something together and pull something off. Now we have the largest community in the XRP community. We've done more private investment deals than any other group in the community. I don't think any of them have ever done a private investment deal. We've got into some really cool opportunities outside of XRP that you would not have anywhere else. Fintech companies, quantum security companies, companies in the energy sector, real estate plays, all kinds of stuff. We have people that come in and teach how to improve your credit, how to build a business, how to mitigate taxes, how to structure your estate, how to use insurance. We have insurance for our community. It's a health share plan. No other community I've ever been a part of has ever offered any type of benefits or insurance for its community members. So yeah, I just super grateful and thankful for the people that have been here from the beginning, and we will always take care of the people that take care of us. So if you are in the Mastermind, you will get priority for all of those stuff that we're doing. And I'm doing my best to make sure that we have the staff to be able to scale when things happen. I'm a bit more aggressive on timeframes than my team is, which I want them to be. I want realistic, good fiduciary people that are not quite as aggressive, I guess is the word, as I am. But yeah, I've got a backlog of people, and we're bringing on a bunch of interns, and I'm excited to say that I think we're in a good position to be able to handle volume if in the next couple of weeks it took place. So yes, that dang newspaper boy. We've got Textured Puma. They said, what are your thoughts on Tether's free pass everyone is talking about in the Genius Act? They're not going to get a free pass. They're going to get rolled into the U.S. government. And I think they're going to get sanctioned. I am reading Grayscale ETF was delayed. They can't delay it anymore. They already delayed it to the date that they delayed it to. They can either approve it or deny it. So until I get word that it was denied, tomorrow, we'll see. We got Group 1 Gavin says, legend. What's up, man? He says, love the chats with Charles and Ben. Very interesting indeed. Have a blast in Vegas, bro. Any info on a company called Canopus? The website claims to be able to insure crypto. So Nexus and a few other people insure smart contracts in crypto. I think that'll become much more prevalent on the other side of regulation. Right now, not a whole lot of people want to underwrite that risk because they're not sure of all the risk associated, and the cost of the insurance is astronomical. Just as an example, I think we pay 1% of the total policy per year to be able to cover people. And if we want species insurance to be able to increase the amount of insurance we have on accounts, it's going to be something similar. We only charge, basis points for people. If you've got over 5 million, we do 50 basis points. If you've got over 10 million, we do 40 basis points. If you have over 425,000 XRP and you get your account funded by the 15th of next month, we will honor 20 basis points for lifetime management fees, which is bottom of the barrel. I can't go any lower. We don't. Yeah, I barely make any money there. But I want to make sure that if you do have a very large amount of XRP, we have an opportunity, for you to not pay a whole lot and for the value that you're going to get, and be able to get that in and start generating returns and be able to borrow against it. So would love to work with anybody that's out there that might be listening to this that has that amount. If you want to go to digitalwealthpartners.net and just fill out the contact us form. If you want to get in before the 15th, we will honor that rate. We got, not sure how to say this person's name, watching from Australia. How long do you expect the liquidation event to last? Will XRP dip heavily too? If so, how long? Or will XRP go straight up? I think XRP goes straight up while everything else is burning down, man. I think people are going to freak out. And I don't think it'll last that long. I think it'll be enough to scare people. I think it'll be problem, action, reaction, solution. They'll roll this out. They'll save this. They'll save the system and say that, they had to do this in order to get it to work and make sure that everything was going to be okay. I think BlackRock has been working on this and orchestrating it for decades at this point, and I think they're much more involved than people really understand. I appreciate you being on here from Australia. We've got Ruben. They say, hey, Jake, very excited to go to the Mastermind Las Vegas. I really hope we could shake hands with my XRP sensei. Yeah, we'd love to see you in person, brother. If you're going to be there at the event, I will be meet and mingle everybody. And I'll be at multiple other events as well there in Vegas. I'll be at an event Thursday night that many people that are going will be at. Friday, I think we're probably going to do a private dinner for some people. And then Saturday, we'll be at 68J's event there in Vegas as well. We got 589 Phoenix. Love the name. Aussie-based. They have a super fund. Gains tax is 15%, but over 3 million will face 15 on unrealized gains. Can I use your custody plus tax tools? What are the benefits and next steps? Yeah, we can get your assets offshore. We can move them into BVI or another jurisdiction. If you have them in a super fund, unrealized gains is ridiculous, dude. Like, that's a law that they passed there. That's so silly. Basically forcing you to liquidate. Like, that's so shit. Excuse my French, but just, it's horrible. It doesn't surprise me the parliament would do that. Anyway, yeah, we would love to help you, and we will figure out a way to be able to mitigate those taxes. I've got Consensus Layer there in Australia is who we work with for the accounting and estate planning and CPA services. So if you want to reach out to those guys, David over there is our contact, and he can help hook you up there with your super managed fund. And then we can absolutely manage the assets inside that and generate returns with it and borrow against it and do a bunch of stuff. So if you didn't want to liquidate and do have to pay the taxes, like, we can at least borrow against it and then hopefully generate enough returns to be able to offset any losses or what you'd have to pay. So we can figure it out. We can get creative and keep the asset over the long term. We can structure insurance policies also. So Wayne says, put all your assets on Decent from Coinbase and Robinhood. Are all exchanges at risk when Tether gets sanctioned? Yes. Anybody that still has Tether on their platform when they get sanctioned or when stablecoin regs roll out, gonna be rough for a short period of time. And they're gonna want your XRP. Like that. That's my other fear, because they own your XRP. You are a creditor of the exchange. You do not own that XRP if it's on an exchange. Just like a bank, you don't own your money. They have your money. They don't owe it back to you. You'd be a creditor. And if they need to take it because there's a systemic risk or a systemic risk for their business and they need to use it and they just want to give you the regular value for it, they have the right to do that. I guarantee you there's provisions in their contract that you signed when you started to participate on their platform where they can rug you. They can take your asset, especially Coinbase. They didn't pay out anybody's Bitcoin Cash when that happened. They still hadn't paid out people's Songbird. I know Fred Russell is still in a lawsuit with them over that. So just be aware of that. Like if you don't have it in your wallet separate off of an exchange, you're exposed to whatever they want to do. And you're basically you're the little fish too. Like even if you filed a class action lawsuit with other people, they're going to settle with you. You're not going to get the asset. So anyway, not to scare people, but I would highly recommend getting your assets off of exchanges and into a wallet. If you don't want to pay for anything, like you don't have the money for whatever reason, I think Zaman is a great opportunity for XRP. I think We'd Say Win's built a good product there. But my preference obviously is Decent. I think that's the best solution, the biometric, best UI. It's got the largest breadth of assets that you can hold and a 25th seed phrase. This person said Arculus and Tangem. Both those are good options as well. But yeah, I would definitely get my assets off of the exchange because you are a creditor to the exchange, and that is not your XRP that's on there until you take it off. Hey, what's going on, man? He says, reminder to share, like, and subscribe. Thanks. I always forget to tell people that, but if you could, we got like almost 1,500 people here watching on the live on YouTube. I'm sure we got a lot there on X, and then almost 300 over here on TikTok. If you could, like, subscribe, share with somebody that you think would be valuable, then yeah, definitely would help us out and the algorithm. This person's asked about Nano Ledger. I can tell you I used that in the past, and it's nothing I would put my assets on now. I know too many people that have had horror stories with Ledger. And you know, correlation doesn't always equal causation. I'm not talking bad about Ledger. I'm just saying that there's been a correlation with people that have had it on there and also lost their stuff. So we got Adam. He says, thanks for taking time to answer questions. What was the defining moment in your life that led you to grow in wealth that you have now? When I quit my job in industrial sales, I don't know if you guys have ever had like something you felt like you had to do, but it was very hard and you were like worked up over it and you had to like juice yourself up and like, you know, talk to yourself. I had a cush job before I quit and started doing the consulting, and they did me a little dirty, but most people would have stayed. I was making more than six figures. I had a company truck. I had a company card. I was in my, you know, mid 20s. Like most people would be like, and if I had just stayed there, I probably would be making $300,000 or $400,000 a year right now. Still with, you know, company truck and the company card and all that stuff. I went in and quit. It was not my passion. It was like, it's cool. It was work, but I didn't get excited every morning when I woke up. I wanted to do something that I get fulfillment from. I wanted to leave an impression on the world. I want to leave a legacy. I want to have an impact. And I can, right? And that's the other thing. I think people, it's hard, especially when you got kids and a wife and like responsibilities and like, what, you don't know if something's going to work out. There's a lot of uncertainty. But you're asking for the defining moment when I sat down across the table from them and told them, no, thanks. I'm leaving and I'm going to make millions of dollars a year and I'm not ever going to do that here. And I want to impact people's lives and change people's lives and be able to help and provide value in society, and selling bearings isn't really going to do that. They looked at me like I was crazy, you know? And again, most other people would. Like, I had a good job. And I gave all that up to do some consulting that I don't even do anymore. It was what was going to get me by until I could figure out what I was supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. But if I hadn't had the courage in that moment to step into my higher self and make that choice, be in a very different spot. So anyway, yeah, everybody has to make their own choices, but I can tell you for myself, like that was the right choice for me. And that's become more and more evident every single day. I looked at it the other day. It had been like like 1,500 days since I quit. Anyway, not something I've ever shared on here, but appreciate the question, and hopefully that inspires somebody to make a change in their life. It's not easy. It's not fun. I was nervous, wanted to throw up, felt horrible, but I did it anyway. So, Michael A. says, do you think the reason why there's no XRP ETFs approved is because there's no regulation yet and the Ripple case is not settled? Nope. XRP is not a security. They needed the futures market to be live. That's always a predicated thing before spot ETFs. You had the futures market on Bitcoin live for like a long time before ETFs were live. You had futures ETFs on XRP already live. But that has to be in place before they'll do spot ETFs. I don't know that we don't get spot ETFs tomorrow. Ripple seems to like Thursdays, so we'll see what happens. But I don't think the case has to be settled. I don't think that has to be. Actually, I don't want it to be done, because if the case is what causes the price appreciation on XRP, then it is a security of Ripple. And they know that. And that's why the case isn't settled yet. So the price of XRP needs to go up before the final ruling of the judge on the case. And every time it has gone up because of the case, they've tamped it back down. So I don't want that to happen. I want it to go up irrespective of the case, and then the case to kind of unfold and be done after it. We got Robert. He says, the webinar, I only need Zoom. Also, stay away from playing poker. You do not have a poker face. Monday night, you could barely contain yourself. Thank you for the wisdom, Robert. I would agree with you. Probably don't have the best poker face. I'm still really excited, if you can't tell. But yeah, you just need the Zoom, and you'll be able to join the webinar, and we would love to have you there on the second for the 50,000. KT4111 GCN. They say, hey, Jake, even if XRP ends up handling trillions plus multiplier effect, how does the price get into thousands if moving significant amounts of money only costs a few cents of XRP? Also, where's the best place to sell XRP? So I did a video on the burn rate the other day. XRP will last the next 54,000 years at the current burn rate. But aside from that, it's a supply and demand deal. When you have a certain amount of volume of payments that is moving over the network, and only a certain amount of XRP available to facilitate those payments, again, what people don't understand is available supply versus total supply. They're not the same thing. If you only had 500 million XRP available to move $5 trillion worth of value on a daily basis, then you're looking at $1,000 XRP. That's just the math. And you could do that if everybody was just holding XRP and not selling it, not using it for those transactions, and that was all that was available. That would be the price that it would trade at. So hopefully that explains that a little bit better. I know other people have a hard time with that. And then best place to sell XRP, Digital Wealth Partners. I messed this up. We're still at 20 basis points, but we're 20 basis points with no spread on any size transaction. Doesn't matter. It's $1,000, $10,000, $1 million, $10 million. 20 basis points is all we take with no spread. And it's not even us. It's Anchorage that takes that fee. We don't make anything on a trade. We just pass that value on to our clients. So any other exchange that you do it on, even if it's an OTC desk, they're going to take a spread plus that 20 basis points if you're doing more than $1 million or $250,000. And happy to make introductions there if people need it. If you need an OTC desk to purchase or to sell, we have connections with Kraken and with Coinbase and with Uphold and a few others if you guys need those people. Again, available to the Mastermind members. I open up my network at scale to the Mastermind members. People in there have access to stuff that, the average person's Just never going to see. We got Sean Sides, no question, commented on your X today. Thank you for all that you've done to get us on this ride. Gonna miss Monday and Wednesday chats after price appreciation. Who says I'm going anywhere, Sean? We'll just have other stuff to talk about. You know, I love doing this. This is fun for me, just so you guys know. This person asked, what does it cost to be a Mastermind member? It's $25 a month for the social membership, $100 a month for the Carbon 1 membership, $250 a month for the Carbon 2 membership. And if you want to go, you know, Carbon X or Carbon 3, it's $2,500 a month. And each one of those gets you, you know, something more. If you want to try Carbon 1 or social out for free for a month and see if it's worth your time, or, you know, if it's not, you just cancel. It's no big deal. You can use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you a free month there in the group. But yeah, I'm not going anywhere after price appreciation, Sean. I'm here for the long haul with you guys. We got Justin. He says, hey, Jake, can you elaborate on Japan's situation? They're backed into a corner. They can't print any more currency. Otherwise, you're going to see hyperinflation and energy prices spike. Bond rates are skyrocketing because people are selling those off because they believe that they're going to default, or they're going to have to raise interest rates. And they are going to have to raise interest rates. And as soon as they do, all the people that are going to have to refinance debt because they borrowed against the Bank of Japan or borrowed from the Bank of Japan over the last 20 years at negative and 0% interest, they're going to default on their loans. So they're going to have to rush to pay those back because, again, you know, if the dollar is increasing while the yen is decreasing in value, actually the other way, the yen will be increasing in value and the dollar will be falling, it becomes more and more expensive to pay those loans back. And so that's why you're going to see mass sell-off in all markets when the reverse carry trade unwinds. That's equities, bonds, gold. This is my theory on gold, and people are going to get mad about it, but I think gold's going to go back to $2,000. That's where I'm going to be buying it, Justin. So hopefully that explains the situation there in Japan for you. We are way up here, and I've got 13 minutes left, so we're going to go lightning round through the super chats here. Jeremy says, XRPJC, what is the dress code for Wednesday? Are we planning to wear, what are you planning to wear? Always dress to impress, man. I don't like wearing a tie. I feel like you're like kind of like uptight if you wear a tie, but I always like to be clean, pressed suit, nice shoes, well dressed. Doesn't have to be, you know, a 3-piece suit or anything crazy, but, you know, high class. Represent, you know. We have Vikings fan Dan says, JC, thanks for your continued wisdom. Is the 500,000 threshold required to join the BeyondBroke Mastermind or just the LLC setup? Neither one of those, sir. That is just for institutional custody and the wealth management. You can absolutely set up an LLC. You might start thinking about an LLC when your assets are over $50,000 to $80,000 in value. So it doesn't matter how much you've invested, because I get that question all the time. How much, when your assets appreciate, you might have put $10,000 in, but it's worth $80,000 now. Now you should start looking at an LLC. It starts to make sense, cost to benefit wise at that point for, continue to buy digital assets. If you have less than that, just keep buying digital assets. Like, don't pay $2,000 for an LLC. Your money's going to be better spent and have a higher ROI invested versus doing the LLC. The LLC doesn't start to matter until about $80,000. And then the mastermind, anybody can join the mastermind. If you want to learn, and you can be at any point in your crypto journey. You can be a veteran. You could have been here for years, or you could be brand new to the space. We don't discriminate. We want to help everybody, and we have resources to be able to help anybody at any stage of their development. And again, if you want to do the LLC, you just go to digitalfamilyoffice.io, use the code 50OFF, 50OFF, DAG LLC, get you everything you need all in on your management company for your digital assets and alternative investments for $2,000 there in Wyoming. Angus, he says, nice shirt. Appreciate you, man. Do you see David Schwartz post with speed and route a couple days ago? Thoughts? anything to add without adding? Cheers. If I was a cryptographer and I wanted to let people know something was happening, David's posted all kinds of stuff over the years. So at this point, like, always post some crazy stuff. But he is Jewish. We are in the second month of the Hebrew calendar. And tomorrow is the 25th of the Hebrew calendar, or 24th of the Hebrew calendar, the second month. He's pointed to like 2.7 a couple times, so maybe 2.25. So maybe like Thursday, Friday this week, something. I don't know. He's also pointed to 2.29 a couple times, like on a leap year. So maybe it's Monday next week for the Hebrew calendar on the 29th. I don't know, man. I feel like things are close here because of global macroeconomic events and stuff that I've been watching for a long time. I don't necessarily pay a ton of attention to the riddles and all that stuff. But if I was a cryptographer, that's how I would let people know without letting them know. You know what I mean? We got Daniel. He says, correct. They just printed $2 billion for the tethers today. Tethers time is up. Yeah, that's why we're seeing Bitcoin pump right now. It's always a correlation. Like, people don't understand. When they rug that, it's, yeah. Todd with the 589. Thank you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you on the super chat. We got SAE. They say, are you saying stablecoin bill needs to pass the Senate and the House, then sign into law before price appreciation? I'm saying it's going to happen all at the same time. The domino theory, you're going to see XRP start to move, and then it's going to be everything going to run through. I think the ETFs could be first, and they'll start to pour liquidity in, and then you'll see all of these other things just roll on itself to continue to push the price higher than anybody thinks is going to happen. That's just, again, my personal opinion. I don't have a crystal ball. But when they announce Amazon is using XRP, don't say I didn't tell you. Let's see here. And they will, because they get international payments. They got to be able to settle those. We got Seth with the super chat. He says, I saw an official forecast regarding oil, and its forecast oil staying flat or going lower. If that's true, could a significant natural disaster in the area of the world be the catalyst rather than a spike in oil prices? It's going to be conflict in the Middle East. It's going to be between Israel and a counterparty. There's going to be something that happens over there. There's already threats of that. That's what that I can't be certain of it. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm extremely confident that there will be a conflict in the Middle East that cuts off oil supply to Japan, and then we'll go. We're already starting to see, oil in yen start to rise rapidly. Let's see here. A couple more super chats. We got Healthy Tech 25. They say, Jake, thanks for the great info. Absolutely, man. Appreciate you being here and asking good questions. Learning a lot. Looking for the LLC soon. Very cool. If you hold XRP and iTrust Capital and onboard with DWP's Roth IRA, can it be placed in the fund as well to generate returns? No. Unfortunately, we cannot leverage qualified capital, so you can't borrow against it or release margin against it. That's the way that we currently do it to be able to mitigate counterparty risk with non-qualified funds, so stuff that's not in an IRA. We are looking at a platform where we can run algorithms on SMAs or single managed accounts, and that would allow us to be able to generate returns inside of an IRA. That could cost me about $150,000 to implement that algorithm, but that's worth it to me. If we can be the only people that generate returns on IRAs out of anybody, it's worth that spend to me. So anyway, might have to bite the bullet on that. A little expensive up front, but I think it would help just a ton of people inside their IRA. And so I think we'll probably do it. I don't know what the time frame on that's going to be, but I'm hoping sometime in the next 30 to 60 days we'll have that capability. Digital Wealth Partners. If you have an interest in working with Digital Wealth Partners, you got over 100,000 XRP, it's inside of an LLC, or at least $500,000 in your crypto portfolio, please go to digitalwealthpartners.net and go to the contact us form, and we would love to have a conversation with you and help you get your assets into institutional custody, have them insured, bankruptcy remote, have an advisor, and have the ability to borrow against it and be able to put it to work in a fund if you are accredited. And then again, we're working on in the next 30 to 60 days, we'll have other ways to be able to generate returns on stuff besides the funds. You say XRP gets burned in every transaction. Whose XRP gets consumed? A million thank yous for the contribution to us newbies. We're counting on you as XRP Moses. Part the Red Seas. You got, so when you send a transaction over the network, you can look at the fee that it cost you. So same thing with Ethereum. It comes out of how much you sent to the counterparty. That's the fee that you pay on the network. So it's like 0.00000012 XRP is the fee most of the time. So it's like 10 drops, 12 drops, something very small, less than a penny to send $1 million. But you pay it when you send something on the network. And it gets burnt. It's gone for forever. 5,000 XRP a day is the current burn rate. Jason King says, hey, Jake, thanks for everything that you do. How can someone buy 260 million XRP on Kraken and the price not tick up anyway? They have a dark pool service. They just do it direct between counterparties and don't even tell the counterparties who each other are. They do the KYB, KYC and make sure that they're both able to transact, and then they settle up the trade. They make their piece and everybody's happy. No market impact. Once there's no longer any XRP available in the dark pools, that's when you're going to see price appreciation, because they'll have to go through the exchanges and liquidity. That'll be the only place with liquidity left. Mighty Mouse, what's up, man? Thank you for the super chat. They say, hey, Jake, I'm trying to get a clear understanding of what it means to have things in place when price appreciation happens. If price appreciation happens quickly and I don't have an LLC set up, does that mean I'm paying the tax man? Not necessarily. Depends on how much XRP you have. If you got over $80,000, let's just do some math real quick. And this is why I say about 80 grand. What would that be today? So we're at $2.40. I'll do some back of the napkin math here. So we got $80,000 divided by $2.40. So you get 30,000 XRP, give or take. XRP goes to $1,000. You're sitting on $30 million. In the US, your gift tax threshold is $13.99 million per person. Okay, so between you and your spouse, you get about $28 million that you can gift out of your taxable estate with no gift tax. Anything above that amount is going to be taxed at 40% if you want to gift it out of your taxable estate into a trust. You could wait and set up the LLC after, but you're not going to have a bank account. You're not going to be able to get it in institutional custody. We're going to be overwhelmed. And we're going to take care of people that have prioritized things and made sure that their stuff's in place. And that's not to be mean. That is just to provide value and make sure that people that have been proactive are taken care of. So you're not going to be stuck out, or it's not going to be a huge problem, even if it went to $1,000. If it goes to $2,000, now you got $60 million. Now you're in a conundrum, right? Because now if you want to allocate it to an LLC, that's a lot of money to move into a corporation. If you want to move it into a trust, you're going to have to pay gift taxes, because you're not going to be able to get all of it in there. If you want to set up an insurance policy, you're not going to get to write anything off if you want to take profits. If you sell any, you're not going to be able to mitigate taxes until you move it into an LLC or a trust or do something else to structure it inside of an entity. You're just on your back foot, I guess is how I would put it. So it's not like you're at a significant disadvantage or that you couldn't do those things post price appreciation. If your bank account isn't seasoned in and you move large amounts of money to it, it's likely going to get frozen, especially if it's your personal bank account. You've never had more than 10, 20, 30, $50,000 in there, and you move $1 million in it from a crypto exchange, they're locking it down. The bank is going to lock you down. If it's a business account, you've already been doing business with them for 3 to 6 months, and you've already moved some larger sums in and out of that account, not going to bat an eye. It's fine. Move $1 million into it. You let them know, I'm setting up a business. I'm going to have a large liquidity event from some of my alternative investments. I plan on moving 7 figures in here in the next 4 or 5 months. Let them know that. They will set you up. They will be happy to have you, happy like a lark. They're not going to lock your account down. But if you're being reactive and you're not in a position to move methodically because you want to rush through things, or you feel rushed to be able to take profits and like make sure that you don't lose things, or maybe it comes down to the end of the year when this happens and you got to rush through things to get it done then. We have solutions for all those things. I've already thought through all the contingencies for all that stuff, and we're able to work with people in those areas and make sure that you're still okay. But again, like, you're just a lot better off if you're going to be proactive about things rather than reactive and be on your back foot on the other side of price appreciation. If nothing else, if you don't set up the LLC, if you haven't got bank accounts established, if you don't have an exchange account established, if you don't have an OTC desk, if you haven't got to work with digital wealth partners, if you're not in the mastermind, at least start having conversations with professionals that you want on your team. CPAs, accountants, estate planners, tax attorneys, other wealth managers, people that are going to be able to give you good advice and counsel, so that if you haven't ever managed 10, 20, 50, $100 million before, you're not in a spot where you get caught with your pants down or somebody trying to take advantage of you or put you in a bad position. So anyway, I'm here to help people on that. And if you don't take anything else away from tonight, that's what I would encourage you to do. Just start seeking out the right professionals to surround yourself with, and make sure you're getting the education so that you are not taken advantage of on the other side of price appreciation. And again, if you got at least 30,000 XRP, it's probably a really good idea to start setting up some entities or looking into that. We got John Sensei Jake. Well, what price will XRP get to before exchanges lock it up? What you're doing is priceless, mate. Many thanks. I owe you a beer. I don't drink beer, John. I haven't. I think I'll have like one blue moon a year, literally like once in a blue moon. I like blondes, my beers and my women. But I tend to drink old fashions. It's my drink of choice when I do drink, which is not very often. But anyway, happy to take one of those if the time comes. And what price will it get to? I don't know. Probably let people still buy it like $50 or $100. Much past that, I don't think any supply will be available. I think once it's over 3-4 figures, I think it'll just be OTC trades and direct and outside of exchanges. I don't think exchanges will list it at that point. Again, I could be wrong, but all these structured products that are coming out on crypto, the banks are going to want to make their piece. And if they're able to lock it up where you don't have exposure, then they're going to make more money. So it makes sense for them. We got Jordan. They say, let's say the domino theory takes a little longer. Do you see the price point just being based on retail XRP? Or where do you see where it's at? Like, it's not going to get any higher than where it is today. The supply is much greater than it was in 2017. We don't have the FOMO. We don't have the rotation from Bitcoin into XRP unless the ETFs happen. So just retail. I don't think we're going to get any higher than where we already are. I know that's sad to say, but it's the truth. Dennis says, is there still room Wednesday night for if I join the master? Yeah, for sure. We got like another 50 spots. We would love to have you, Dennis. If you're going to be in Vegas on Wednesday, just join the mastermind. It's Beyond Broke. All capitalized, number 1, and then MO gets you a free month there in the group. We would love to have you next week in Vegas. And again, on the other side of price appreciation, we're locking that down. So if you want to get in, I think right now would be a really good time to go ahead and lock in your membership and lock in your rates. The rates are going to stay the exact same for people that are in now. On the other side of price appreciation, they're going up 10x across the board, and you're going to get vetted hard, background check, a bunch of stuff before we allow you to participate there in the group. So just be aware of that. Brandon G, what's up, man? He says, Jake, okay, going to jump on. You're back in Vegas. Tether is the Federal Reserve for crypto. I don't think people really understand what you just said there, but yes. Looking forward to seeing you there in Vegas, man. Sean Sides, I'm glad to hear that you're still here. Hope to meet you face to face and shake your hand one day. Bring on the God candle. Appreciate you, sir. Absolutely, brother. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I enjoy this too much. Let's see here. Making sure I'm not missing any before we wrap it up tonight. We got Jody. They say, really appreciate these nightly talks. Can you simplify DWP, DAG, and Mastermind so I know where to start? I'm a little confused on which group does what. So Digital Ascension Group is the family office. We work with people that have $20 million or more. If you are at $500,000 or 100,000 XRP, Digital Wealth Partners is your go-to. If you need an LLC, the family office will help you out there too. $2,000. If you use the code 50OFF, 50OFF, DAG LLC, and that's at digitalfamilyoffice.io. The Mastermind's for anybody. Mastermind is for anybody that wants crypto education and business resources, a community to be a part of that has aligned interest and values, wants to do private deals, wants access to resources and good people. Almost 2,000 people there in the Mastermind community. It is on Discord. We're looking to scale that to some other places, but that's kind of what each one offers. So Digital Wealth Partners is wealth management. DAG is the family office services, so entity creation, estate planning, CPAs, accountants, all the other stuff besides the wealth management is DAG. And then the Mastermind is community, private deals, and access to lending and health share plan, and just good people. We've got this Healthy Tech says, back to DWP Roth return. Would you recommend selling XRP and iTrust to take a hit in taxes and rebuy XRP on the exchange to get the return at DWP? It sounds like it may not have to in 60 days. I don't know how old you are, and I can't give you financial advice. I can tell you that's what I did, but I was 29 when I did it. I was younger. If you're not in your 50s and you want full use of the XRP over your whole lifetime and the ability to generate returns and pay yourself and do a bunch of cool stuff with it, if it's in a Roth, I'd probably leave it. It's in a Roth, like you're going to get tax-free. But if it's not in a Roth, if it's just in a regular RIA and you're not 50 years old, up to you. Can't give you financial advice on that one. You can talk to our team. You can reach out to Digital Wealth Partners, and they can tell you what to do. A couple more super chats, and we're going to wrap it up tonight. We got Jake 5K Aussie on gold or XRP. Yeah. Gold's going to 2,000. XRP's going to 2,000. You tell me, man. And then we got one more super chat from J-Dog. What's up, man? Appreciate you on the super chat. All right. That's going to be it for tonight. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you for taking out the time on your Wednesday night to hang out with me. We'll be back Monday, but we won't be back Wednesday next week. So if you do want to go check it out, Monday night, we will be here for you guys, and I'll be back from New York with some special news on Monday next week. So be sure to watch that one. The Mastermind will know about that first. So if you want to learn more and be on the cutting edge of things, you can join the Mastermind community. Is beyondbroke.com. Just use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, number 1, and then MO gets you a free month there in the group. And we'll see you guys in Vegas. Yeah, Wednesday night next week. That's why I won't be on the live. So there's that. If you need the LLC, I would encourage you to go ahead and get going on that. Like I said, just going to put you in a good position on the other side of price appreciation, and we're going to work with people that are already prepared on the wealth management side. So if you want to get that going, all you got to do is use the code 50OFF, 50OFF, DAG LLC. Get you everything you need for your management company for alternative investments. There you go, 50 off, DAG LLC. Appreciate you, Living Legacy. EIN, articles of organization, registered agent, template for the operating agreement, certificate of good standing, step-by-step process on how to move your assets in there, consult if you need it, and how to set up a bank account. And then last but not least, if you do have 425,000 XRP and you want to move it in institutional custody, get your LLC set up, and we'll bring you on in the next 30 days here. Get you 20 basis points for life, which is the lowest fee we will ever offer anybody ever at Digital Wealth Partners. But if you do have over 100,000 XRP, we would love to work with you. Get your assets into institutional custody. And if you're accredited, we would love to be able to participate with us to generate returns on your XRP or be able to borrow against it. So with that, I hope you'll have a wonderful night, a wonderful week, and we will see y'all on the next one.